page or at the top of certain subreddits is actually relevant to the user base, and the people that make sure that the website has valuable data. The users are what make Reddit what it is, not the website. So they're deciding to take their content and leave. However, since the CEO of this website, like many Silicon Valley social media CEOs, has a rapist mentality, he is not allowing people to do that, and he's willing to go so far as to violate the law in his state to make a point. This is the story of Thomas Hunter II, a user that posted a video yesterday that is both informative and unfortunate. He says in this video that he has deleted all of his Reddit posts as of June 13th. He is protesting in the way that he knows how, in the way that I suggest many of you do. And he realized a few days later that Reddit restored all of his posts and comments, which was particularly strange. So he submitted a legal request to delete his posts under the CCPA. The CCPA is the California Consumer Privacy Act, and if you wonder why should Reddit follow California's laws, they're headquartered in San Francisco. So he submits a request, and they obviously understand what the CCPA is because there's a drop-down menu on their website for the type of request that you have. He receives a response from Reddit a few days later saying that they will not delete his content. Hello, we'd be happy to help you delete your Reddit account if you have one. Before you proceed, please note, posts and comments must be separately deleted before deleting your account. If not separately deleted, the content of the post and the comments will remain visible and disassociated from any account. If you want your posts and comments removed, follow the instructions on the help page. And when he goes to the help page, he realizes that he has to remove the comments one by one. Now, as I said, Reddit's value is not in the website, it's not in the sysadmins, it's not in the servers. It is in the people that provide useful content. It is when you show someone how to fix someone, it is when you give someone good advice that helps them in their interpersonal relationships, it is when you give somebody good personal finance advice, it is the information provided by the users that makes the site great. So when you take that information away, it makes Reddit less great. So there's an incentive structure that Reddit has to ensure that it is as difficult as possible for you to remove your data. Again, on my web forum, if I wanted to delete all of a user's posts, it is one click for me, and my forum is much less sophisticated than Reddit. This is not a difficult request to grant, and honestly it shouldn't be, because again, Reddit shows to be headquartered in a state with the California Consumer Privacy Act, so they kind of have to. So this is what we call malicious compliance. Okay, technically we'll give you the tool to comply, you just have to delete them all one by one. So he decides to write back and tell them that this violates the CCPA. If I understand your response properly, you are refusing to delete the data associated with my account. I believe this is illegal in violation of California Consumer Privacy Act. In this case, the onus is on Reddit to delete all the content associated with my account. It's beside the point, but last week I already deleted all the posts and comments with my account, and it seems like Reddit has restored most of the content. It is untenable to demand all users manually delete their content when Reddit itself does not provide a self-serve mechanism to mass delete content. Some users have thousands of posts and millions of comments, and he gives them a reminder that they have about a month left to comply with his request under the law. So he decides, you know what, screw it. I deleted my stuff, it showed up again, I submitted a request legally, which they ignored, so we are going to now go to the third level, which is he is going to delete every single one of his posts manually, and he records himself doing it a few days later. And this is actually a video, and because he's more considerate than I am to most of you, he doesn't want you to watch an hour-long video of him deleting everything, so he does edit it a little bit, but you get the point. He's literally sitting here deleting every single one of his posts one by one. And after this is all done, he notices that after he's deleted just about everything, there's nothing left, and then a few days later, Reddit has restored all of his posts and comments after he manually deleted it. So let's go over this. He tries to delete his posts, they show up again. That's level 1 screwed up. He submits a legal request that they are legally required to follow, asking them to remove the data associated with his account. They refuse to follow the law. That's level 2 of screwed up. So he actually manually tries to delete all of his posts, and they reappear anyway. That is level 3 of screwed up. That's not just malicious compliance, we are going to ignore the law. That's we're going to go out of our way to make sure that you don't have any control over your data when you post it to our website in violation of the law, which is beyond bad. Because again, as he says, there are many posts that have personally identifiable information, and they all show back up again. For instance, his name. At this point, it appears impossible to manually delete posts and comments on Reddit and expect them to stay deleted. By not deleting all posts and comments in an automated way, there is no way to guarantee that no personally identifiable information has been left behind, otherwise known as Appendium 2. For example, there is one of his posts that has his name in it, and good luck trying to delete that post. The fact that that name is tied to nucleoside, which is his Reddit username. There's no guarantee that every single post that comes is free from this information. They must delete comments and posts from an account after receiving a CCPA request, which they refuse to do. And it's very obvious why they refuse to do this. In my opinion, Silicon Valley social media CEOs think like rapists. They have a rapist mentality. We are going to run psychological experiments on our users without informing them. We have that right because we are kings of the world, and as long as it is on page 849 of our EULA and 7-point legalese, I guess it's okay. It doesn't matter. Oh, you should have noticed that we were pouring powder in your drink. Or with Google, where they will save recordings of everything I've said into my phone for over 10 years without me agreeing or consenting to it. And they see nothing wrong with this. Many of these companies believe that it's not your data, it's theirs. It's not your value, it's theirs. It's not your content, it's theirs. It's not just that we get to set the terms of our own website, but we get to disobey the law, we get to disobey the users, and we get to violate the very concept of consent. I don't consent for my information to be on your platform anymore. I'm going to delete the information on my platform in accordance with the law because you refuse to, and they are not going to let that happen, because for them to allow that to happen would mean that you're in control, not them. And to them, control over you is paramount. Control over you is everything. Why is it that this is so important? As I said, Reddit is looking to IPO soon. Where is the value in Reddit? In the server or in the user base? It's in the user base. The value in Reddit is when you Google some random personal finance issue, and the only website where somebody has had the exact same issue as you is Reddit. The value in Reddit is when somebody answers that question to the best of their ability and just so happens to be a scholar in their field, and that question has now helped thousands of people as a result of it being answered on Reddit and that particular stuff. That's where the value in Reddit is, in the users. So if you want to trick investors into believing that this platform is still valuable, in spite of the fact that many of these valuable users have left, what you need is for that content to be searchable. When somebody asks some random personal finance question, some random question how to fix a tube radio from the 70s, Steve Huffman, the CEO of Reddit, needs for the potential investor in Reddit to be able to see that when they Google that question, there's an answer that shows up immediately, and it actually is there. They can't have that potential investor see 20 different threads where you just see /deleted, this post has been removed, this subreddit is locked, because it destroys the value of his website. If what you are trying to do is trick people into believing that you have something more valuable than it is, if you are a used car dealer that is trying to trick somebody into believing that this is a new car, you got to put a fresh paint of coat over that rust. If you're going to serve somebody a steaming pile of shit at Fogo de Chao and you want to pretend that that's steak, you're going to have to do some work to trick people into believing that that's steak. And the work that he is doing to trick potential future investors into believing that this website still has value, in spite of the fact that much of the user base that provided that value has disappeared, is force them to keep their post on the website in violation of the law. And that's the thing in business. Like, technically, you may be able to retain your value if you do certain things, but once you're at the point where you have to make certain decisions in order to be valuable, you realize it's kind of time to pack it in. Like, I remember this time with my old supply company where I realized if I screwed people over on RMAs, so this is the thing that most people did if they couldn't afford an RMA department, which is they take something back and they would send it out 3 different times to 3 different people, and they would only send it back to their vendor if it came back 3 times. Not kidding. This was a standard. I'm not going to say the company that did this because it's not going to get into that. Because the company actually did that. And I remember thinking, I wouldn't have to pay somebody to handle returns if I did that. And the difference in paying that person to handle returns might just be the difference in profitability. And thinking to myself, once you're at the point that you're even discussing that, you failed. To put that in context with Reddit, like once you're at the point of thinking the way that we retain the value of our website is to keep users' personal information on the website without their consent, it's about time to pack it in. Like, it's not even a question at this point, in my opinion, as to whether this is moral or whether this is legal. If your leadership is so bad, if your CEO is such a steaming pile of garbage that these are the types of questions that even have to be asked to retain your value, it's just time to pack it in. The power here exists with the users. The value in this website exists with the users. And when you take away that user-generated content, it is nothing but useless racks of servers and APIs that nobody's providing any relevant information to. You are where the value lies in this website, and he knows that. And he needs to trick as many people as possible into the future into believing that that value is still there. He can do that if he can show that there's 10 years of amazing user-generated content. He can't do that if you take that content away from him and he's trying to stop you from doing it in every way possible, regardless of whether he violates consumer law in the state of California. You know, the state that he just so happens to choose the headquarters company in. I personally think everybody involved should try to do the same thing, and I think every single person that gets that type of non-compliant response from Reddit should report this to the California Attorney General. I'm sorry, do you not have to pay when you break a law? Do I not have to pay even when I don't break a law? Why doesn't he have to pay when he blatantly breaks the law? I think he should have to pay. I think he should have to pay a price to the California Attorney General, and I think he should have to pay a price to his users. This is exactly what I would expect from a website run by somebody like Steve Huffman, who has such a rapist mentality that he sees no problem with editing a user's post without their consent. The CEO of Reddit himself has edited posts on the platform to make it look like the user was saying something that they were not actually saying. And it's not like something where they said the F word and he edited out the vowel or something because it was a curse. He made the post say something that it was not intending to say, and he never marked on the website that that post had been edited by the CEO. That's the type of sick freak that runs this platform. This is the person at high school that would wait until you took a sick day and tell your boyfriend or your girlfriend that you were cheating on them, that you said something behind their back that you never actually said, just because they got their rocks off on watching you fight and argue the next day. They would sit behind the table and laugh watching you two go at it. This is the type of person that just enjoys screwing with people because they have a miserable, horrible life, no friends, nobody likes them, nobody cares about them, and this is how they get their rocks off, by violating the concept of consent and screwing with people. Steve Huffman, if you're watching this, screw you. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. By the way, before I end the video, I am having a yard sale here at Ross & Repair.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Adam went on to mess with Cast's game for a combined 2 hours, consistently spawning Lucas and the Dollmaker over and over and over again.
Is it winnable? Not really.
I mean, it's not too bad, right? I mean, it's an auto script. Chances are that Adam just put his game on it and then left the stream a while ago. It's still shitty, but oh, wait, no, there was no auto script. And Adam has spent the last 2 hours manually ruining Cast's game, repeatedly. At first, Cast assumes that it's just a practical joke that Adam's playing on him, but Mr. Flatow wastes no time killing that theory, admitting that he did all of this because Cast called him an asshole. He then goes on to claim that Cast was farming his game for viewers.
I mean, that's what Twitch is.
Before threatening to leak his and Cast's Twitter DMs, to which Castora goes ahead and shows all their messages live on stream. Adam goes on to block Cast on Twitter and kick him from the official Reflect Studios Discord server.
He ruined the game, sabotaged the stream, and then blocked me on Twitter.
Class act. Now, was this justified? I don't care. I'll tell you what it is, though. Proof that Adam can and has fucked with people's streams in the past, all because of a single insult against him. Now that we know that, were there any times in which Mark made insults toward—
Fuck you! It's fucking impossible! Fuck you, game developers! I'm gonna fucking say it, because this game is bullshit! This game is fucking bullshit! It's fucking stupid, and it's broken, and your hack games are inconsistent! It's just so fucking bullshit! It's fucking bullshit! I don't care who knows it! It's fucking bullshit!
That was a trick question. So we have our motive, and we have our means. Hell, we even know that Adam was watching at least a few of Mark's streams thanks to Mark visiting his Twitter.
Whoa, shit, are they gonna fuck with my game?
And from a few now deleted tweets of Adam's live reactions. It seems pretty open and shut. Mark incurred the wrath of Adam from Reflect Studios due to his consistent anger and criticism of both the game and its developers. And Adam, who we've just proved has the ability to do so, punished Mark like he punished Cast, making his game unwinnable. Or did he?
So here's the part of the video where things get a little bit nebulous. You see, I would love to be able to say to you that I can prove without a shadow of a doubt that Adam fucked with Markiplier's game. However, it doesn't seem very likely. After taking pretty extensive notes on all 17 plus hours of Markiplier's streams of the game, how long he was on each Wi-Fi, all of his deaths, what Adam was able to do with the game at the time in its current build, it doesn't look like he actually messed with his game. Trust me, I wish that I could say that he did, because it would have made for a much better story. But after reviewing all of this stuff, it doesn't seem pretty likely. And if anything, the evidence shows that it's almost certain he didn't. Let me explain.
As previously stated, I went ahead and took a shit ton of notes on all of Markiplier's streams. 17 hours worth of Welcome to the Game 2 content, just so I could fully familiarize myself with the mechanics of the game, as well as be able to properly suss out any foul play. I analyzed every single game over that he experienced, matched up with the mechanics of the game that we knew to be true, and even kept a timer for how long Mark was on every Wi-Fi connection, all to see if there was any amount of manipulation afoot. And honestly, there really wasn't. The most suspicious thing I saw was in the 6th and final stream in which Mark dies to Noir 2 times in a row, in a death that even the game's wiki describes as an obscure insta-kill. Again, it's not conclusive evidence that the game was rigged, but it is weird that something that most people call obscure or a pseudo-glitch happened 2 times in a row. Another hole in this theory is the timeline itself. You see, Adam released his troll update for Welcome to the Game 2 in early May of 2020, whereas Markiplier's streams of the game took place throughout April 2018. Now, you can make the argument that someone as tech-savvy as Adam the Web Pro could have had access to this sort of feature since the game's initial release, but that would require looking for the specific dev tools in the earlier patches of the game, none of which would be an easy task, at least if you're me. So again, you could make the argument that Adam had the ability to fuck with Markiplier's games all the way back in 2018, but it would really only be conjecture at that point.
So you see what I mean? There really is no definitive way to say for certain that he messed with his game with the current available information that we have. However, let me ask you a question. Why are we talking about this? Like, why is this a thing? Should developers really be able to mess with our games while we play them? What kind of ethical issues does that bring up overall? Somebody should make a YouTube video about that. That's right, assholes. This whole video was a red herring to talk about the real topic of the video. Ethics and player experience. So let's talk about developer tomfoolery in video games. For the sake of relevancy as well, the fact that it's fun to talk about, I'm going to be using Adam and his troll update as the main crux of the argument here, because his implementation and subsequent abuse of said update really bring up our biggest ethical questions here. The first being, is it ethical for developers to have access to our games while we play them, if that kind of access can be abused? And 2, if that is okay, what does proper implementation in trolling in this sense actually look like? To get an idea of what I mean, let's take a look at a few other instances in which developers either trolled or interacted with their players while they played.
Take the devs of the game Blackout Club, for example. Blackout Club is a co-op horror game that features a group of teenagers trying to unearth the truth behind some paranormal events happening within a little town. The game is novel for its enhanced horror feature that, when opted into, allows for players' voices to be recorded and potentially responded to by the actual developers of the game. Their responses are oftentimes just vague allusions to the game's greater lore, and the developer interaction with players don't go much further than that. Honestly, it's a pretty neat little feature that adds a whole new aspect of replayability and intrigue to the game. Another example is Cluster Truck, a game that's become nearly ubiquitous with its developers' sudden appearances during live streams. Just look up Cluster Truck dev trolling, and you'll find a veritable treasure trove of examples of them joining random streamers and, let's say, enhancing the gameplay.
That means so much to me. Oh my god!
These developer cameos can range from just them taking the piss with the game's text overlay feature to adding entirely new obstacles like missile barrages, loss of gravity, and all kinds of other weird shit. And as opposed to a backdoor like Welcome to the Game 2's case, Cluster Truck instead makes use of Twitch integration, a feature that streamers can opt into to allow their audience, and sometimes the devs, to dictate what happens in their game. You're probably noticing a trend here. In most, if not all of these instances of developers messing with their players, most if not all of them really find the experience to be, well, really cool or rewarding.
These guys are fucking brilliant.
This is super cool.
And on the face of it, I agree. Most, if not all of these devs only actively mess with their players with intentions of either enhancing the game itself or just playing a practical joke, one that most of the time